And okay, let's count backwards from
All right.
10. Jordan, you
10,
ready? 10, 9.
9,
Everybody join
8,
me. 8, 7,
7,
7,
6,
6. What a good group.
5,
5,
5,
4,
4,
4,
Three,
3,
3,
3,
2.
2,
2,
1.
1.
1.
And here we go. Blast off. Can you all hear the music?
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here,
I'm the
meet
co-engineer
today's
today.
future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away? Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me. I'm Bonnie D here in the house. Happy to be here. It's our second show in the regular format after my crystal ball predictions. I did 5 weeks of crystal balls. Many of these people were on the crystal ball sessions this year, and we had a really good time. I think I spoke to 38 futurists with a potpourri, maybe a portmanteau. I'm in the French mood today. I don't have a croissant, but I'll go find one. Bob, look up. We want to see that beautiful shirt you've got. Bob bought a new shirt for the occasion. I'm talking to those insiders who know how this works. I'm sorry, Bob. And he's got the gorgeous background. You're competing with me. So today is a very special show. I said to everybody, hey, you're all using a lot of AI apps for something, for anything, or you're thinking about them, or you know about them, or you read about them. Bob Ficken sends me in text messages and emails lists of apps he's aware of. Dan, you wouldn't believe how many Bob sends to me. He'll send me 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. He said, look at these. So I've collected through Bob and through the newsletters I get, I've collected a compilation of apps. And I've asked each of you to share your favorite, using now, might use tomorrow, or curious about set of apps that we're going to talk about. So I'd like to make this like a speed round. We're not going to do opening quotes, but of course I have a rhyming intro for each of you. So give me a second to start that. So I think what we'll do is I'll read the name of an app. Dan, we're going to start with you, and then just give us your best 2 minutes or so each so we can cover a lot. Dan can stay a half hour. Everybody else will stay to the top of the hour. So here we go. And shout out to my engineer, Jordan, at Voice America. We are streaming also to the new Voice America YouTube page. So here we go. Let's get started. So, welcome to Technology Revolution, the Future of Now show. The future of AI apps. Need help with that? That's what we want to know. Upon the cyber waves of tomorrow's grace, me, Bonnie D, hosts in her Scarlett Mic's embrace. I'm hugging my mic. 5 futurists today share 40 apps they use or may tomorrow. Time will tell if these apps bring smiles, ho-hum, or sorrow. Boo-hoo. Watch and listen. You might learn something new as we curate fresh AI apps to work and play for you. Here we go. Dan Geller, wait, raise your hand, wave when I call your name. Dan Geller, SMB marketing advisor in the AI sphere. For brands big and small, he crafts strategies so clear. With the infield experience, he teaches the business game, turning AI insights. I'm going to make sure we're streaming. Yes, we are. Turning AI insights into actions to amplify their fame. Dan, I'm delighted to have you here. And a shout out to somebody who you're driving to college. You want to give a name?
Yeah, Cam. I'm taking Cam to college later on today.
Cam's going to college. Good daddy. Bob Ficken is back with a magnificent shirt and a background. Bob, I'm just even a bigger fan of yours. Bob, professor and leadership coach keen, guiding businesses to AI from what was once unseen. From startups to giants, Bob has paved the AI way, teaching owners and schools to allow AI to have a say. Bob, hope you like that. Yep, can't hear you, but your lips said okay. That's good enough for me. Eric Meyers, professor with a smile, always, and passion so strong, helping students discover where their careers belong. With awards in teaching and a mind sharp and bright, Eric turns data into wise business insight. I hope you like that, Eric. Yes, I got a
Beautiful
nod.
as always, Bonnie.
Thank you, dear. Me or the poem? Don't answer that. Martin Stenzig is here, bringing insights on tech and more, driving innovation so business processes soar. He flies a plane too. An advisor with wisdom in tech transformation. Martin's on deck exploring AI's broad application. Martin, thank you for being here.
Fantastic.
Good. And
I think we need to
Sherryanne
update
Meyers.
my LinkedIn profile.
Thank you. Sherryanne Meyer leads with a humanistic touch spanning 27 countries. Does she ever sleep? Simplifying tech so much. She crafts solutions that all can pursue her goal, empowering the workforce anew and anew. Sherry, I hope you like that.
Thank you. I'm
You're
honored.
You're welcome. So here we are with Bonnie D, me, and my brilliant panelists. You're brilliant today. The stage is set to explore AI's upcoming surprises. Yet, in business and daily life, AI's wonders continue to unfold on Technology Revolution's airwaves. Join us and behold. How'd I do? What do you think?
Excellent.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Okay. And a shout out to Sylvia Speed, we'll just call her my virtual assistant, merveilleuse, magnifique. And I send her bisous, bisous. And those of you who know a little bit of French know those are kisses, kisses. Okay. And she kisses me back. Okay. So let's go around the table. I've given a brief bio. Is there anything anybody wants to add? I'm not going to give you all 3 minutes for a full bio, but anything anybody wants to add about what they do? Any surprises? Anything new? Dan or Bob or Sherry, Eric, Martin? Dan, anything new with you?
Well,
Oh, Martin, go ahead. Martin.
no, just I'm on a journey to start something new, so stay tuned. There will be a LinkedIn post in the next couple of weeks. Maybe that's so news of the day on my side.
Wonderful. And several of you have been, well, Sherry and Eric and Martin and Bob have all been on my show, We Dish Two Saucy Dames with Sherry. She's one of my founding Saucy Dames. And Martin and Eric and Bob have been on TOO Saucy Dame. That's me plus cool dude. And Dan just agreed verbally, you were all witnessing this, that he wanted to be a cool dude too. Well, he's already cool. So Dan, I'll be in touch and we'll pick a date and we'll do it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Dan, anything you want to add for your bio before you give us your first couple of apps?
I mean, you know this, but yeah, I'm doing a lot of building. I mean, I do strategy work, but I also build. So I think when we talk about the apps, I use a lot of foundational tools because I need to build on top of it. And the benefit is that I get to work with a lot of different types of organizations, whether they be tech or education or healthcare, to help build out solutions. So I think I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody uses because there's so many kind of niche tools, but they're also kind of foundational tools.
Good point. Thank you. So why don't you start, Dan, with your top four of the 8 you sent me? Just give us about a minute and a half, 2 minute overview of the name of it and what it does and whether it's a yay or a nay from you. I assume they're all going to be yay, but maybe not. Dan, I'm going to put you on speaker view and then Bob will tee you up next. So go ahead, Dan.
Okay, so I think that to start, when I'm talking about the foundational things, I think it's important to recognize that besides apps, there's APIs, and APIs are really the hooks into so many of these AI models that will get you more performance. So I really think, especially when that's a lot of the consulting work that I do, people ask about what you can do with ChatGPT. They're talking about the front end, and it's a great tool, absolutely is. Except you can do a lot more if you actually are approaching it on the AI layer, because you can do, you've heard this term before, fine tuning. You can get much greater control over what you're asking of the LLM and much more control over, just how it responds. So I use a lot of API tools, whether that's with some of the OpenAI models like O1 or O1 Mini or O4. I access those on the API layer. And so I think of those all as kind of like mini apps that let me get in. I also use APIs also to do things like grab data from other places. It's a little piece of software that lets you hook into data sources. So that's important when you're thinking about building things. The next thing that I speak to that I think a lot of people know is a tool called make.com. Make is essentially a really great tool if you're building. It's kind of like Zapier. And it basically is a series of kind of modules or gates that you can pull data from one place, access it, do something with it, mix it around, have it do something and move it somewhere else. And so a lot of small to medium-sized business applications where if you don't want to build out a full application, i.e. read hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, if you don't want to build out something that's for enterprise necessarily, you would use a tool like Make. So I use Make all day long.
Where can people find that? Is that make.com?
They can go to make.com. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's and of course people should reach out to me if they want to learn more about it, and I can tell them more, give them more examples. But
okay.
Absolutely, it's a great tool. It has a learning curve, absolutely. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. I said one of the tools that I like is my custom builds apps. And I use those first two things, the APIs and then Make, and I use a bunch of other things. I build custom built apps. And so I build custom built apps for clients as well as for myself. I'll describe one of them that I've just built recently. Agents are in the news, right? Where everybody's hearing from AI is that AI is going to be agentified, or it is being agentified. You can pay for agents that do different things. I build agents all day long. A small recent app that I built that I'm building on that'll just continue to grow is basically a multi-agent personal app that I talk to. And so what it does is that I talk to this interface, which anybody can get. You can use Slack, you can use Telegram, you can use WhatsApp. It hears me, and then through tools like APIs and Make, it makes sense of what I'm saying. So if I say I want to schedule a meeting, or if I want to research something, it understands the category of what I want to do. And it uses what I call a conductor agent. And it takes that and understands and then sends it to the right agent for the job to be done. And so I have a bunch of these different, and I'll probably add 20 or 30 agents for like the high level things I need to do. And this will autonomously, essentially, I can talk to my computer all day long, and it gets my work done for me. So
Dan, how does it get work done for you? You say I have a meeting. What does it schedule it?
It books the meeting. It checks if I put in. So if I say I want to check to see, I want to write an email to you, and I tell it what I want to write about you, it can go back into my database, find the information about you. It understands the context of who you are in our relationship, as long as I load in a database of all my things.
Okay.
And it will, and I'll say, if I say something like write a letter to Bonnie about being in her cool dudes thing and suggest a date, it'll look on my calendar, find a date, look up you, send the email, and then send it in a draft in my Gmail.
Interesting.
So all I say is a few words, and it's doing the work because it's doing all those hooks.
So it's like it's a virtual assistant in a way that you're talking to. It's just not a person who's somewhere else. It's an app.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And it's pennies to do that.
Okay.
And the last thing, which I would suggest, which I think a lot of people know, is Notion. And the reason I use Notion is that when you're building stuff in AI, one of the fundamental truths is that you need to keep your data somewhere, right? You need to store data, and you can put these data in different places. You can put it in what they call RAG models and vector databases and things like Airtable. Notion, which probably some of you have used, is it's a mix of like presentation software and writing software and databases, however you choose to use it. But what it does is it's in the cloud. So when you store stuff, whether you store your writing or you store your research, or you have a database, what you can actually do is connect that in through AI, through tools like Make, and you can actually write and retrieve information to it. And so as a result, like for example, today, I'm not recording this, but if I was to record it, I could create an automation that automatically takes the transcript, reads it, does an evaluation, sends it to an agent that does a higher level evaluation, stores it in a knowledge base. And then if I was able to connect that knowledge base, which is, let's say, Notion, and I later on say, I'm writing an email to Bonnie, it could look at that reference point and say, oh, remember this? You should say something about this.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Yes. So when we think about like those four things, I'm talking about building, because like if I was building anything for any of you, we would look at like what the core goal is, and then what are the tools that can help us get there.
Thank you. So it sounds like it has I'm going to go out on a limb here, social awareness, a socialized consciousness saying, why don't you mention this to Bonnie in your email, because this was important to her, and this was what she told you about, something like. So it has access to all kinds of data about me and you and the relationship, correct?
Exactly. As long as I build that in, I would have to build the agent to require. So it would go back and be like a retrieval agent. So if there's all these different pieces, but if I was to upload all that data from, let's say, all of our meetings, and I told the agent to always retrieve that and to be contextually aware of the nature of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I said Bonnie, it looks for Bonnie. It finds Bonnie in, let's say, a lookup table, and it says Bonnie. Oh, is there anything about Bonnie? It looks at all that information and says, oh, here's the thing you most recently talked about. I'm going to give you the context, and I'm going to inject that back into, I'm going to be self-aware. So when you said email, you might want to, it would say, well, you just had a meeting with Bonnie, or you just were on her podcast. Why not say this? And how you prep it to talk, but essentially it could be self-aware.
Contextually and socially gracious, perhaps we could even say.
Yeah.
Attempting to be socially gracious. That's interesting. When I'm emailing, I'm not that busy that I would need something like that, but I always try to think of what can I say to that person that would let them know I think about them or I care about them or I'm paying attention to them.
Right.
Like you were great on the show last week, or I understand you've got a new record you've just launched, or how's your artwork going, or how's the family. If people tell me there's something about their family, somebody is ill or somebody has moved, I try to reference, like with you, Dan, I would say, hey, great dad who drives his kids to college. I hope you have time to come on the show. So
Right.
yeah, so it's doing that. The big challenge for a lot of us, for many of us, is AI bots don't have empathy. But I think we're building in a contextual awareness that implies or begins to sound like empathy. Anybody want to comment on that around the table? Martin, you were looking like, was Bonnie crazy or what? What do you think? Do we have any, is this like empathy?
I think that's the
Sherry.
goal. I think that's the goal, right? I think that
Yeah.
that's one of the shortcomings. I think you can build in some contextual responses, but I don't think it's ever going to replace a human touch.
No, I agree. But to Sherry's point, I think that's what we want. We want the cold black computer to get a little bit warmer. I think the first thing was the iPhone that sort of puts a little color into the black and white computer thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of conversational AI is sort of the next level. It's like now we're talking to it. You don't have to understand ones and zeros. So it gets us to the next plane, but there is sort of, I think there's sort of the thing where I'm as a business user sometimes things like, okay, enough with the talk, let's get back to the basics. So there's a fine line between just putting sort of the verbalization on something that I can do with 2 clicks, and I'm like, that's sort of what we have in the business world, that everybody got the memos, like we need to do more AI, and now everybody desperately tries to turn any functionality they have into AI functionality.
Yep.
And sort of slap a conversational AI piece on top of it, where you sometimes say just like, stop, it's like,
Yep.
I want all the goods, but I don't want the superfluous stuff where you just don't make it more confusing, or you suddenly hallucinate news, as I think we've seen in the news. So it's let's leave that out.
Well, we all succumb to the shiny new thing syndrome, don't we? And that's where we are today. I'm going to move on, Bob. I'm hoping we get. Dan, go ahead, quick.
I just
want
want to make a point about empathy,
Yeah.
and I'll give you an example, and I'll try to make it brief. So I was working on it's a very big project, and I was one of the kind of founding partners. It was pretty big, called LendingHand.ai, and LendingHand.ai was intended to respond to all these like weather conditions, global warming things where people are at risk. So we were trying to work with the hurricane, the people that were at risk in Florida and in North Carolina and Tennessee. But it's a platform that we're building. It's going to need some more funding because there's a lot of data that has to be handled, and it's just-in-time data that would be agentic, that would be AI powered, that would allow people to get the response they need just in time when they're sitting on a roof. So as long as they have any connectivity, the agent would connect them to just-in-time data. Now, talking about the empathy, and like I'm very aware of like what Martin says, and I think that there are sometimes AI is not useful, although I think there are so many times where AI is.
That's what we're talking
This
about
is an
today.
example of it using data in a purposeful way. From the empathetic perspective, there's 2 factors that we were creating in the agent in this experience, is that you can code in kind of a presentation layer that the agent that's talking to you is empathetic. They appear empathetic because they are acting empathetic. But there's another factor in design of software, is the nature of what we were fundamentally doing is if you're responding to a person's need just in time, specifically to what they are asking for, that is empathy, right? To actually recognize the person's condition and then respond to something that they need and follow up is empathy. Whether you're saying it coldly or not, it's not just about presentation, it's about the execution of the thing. So I think when we talk about software design, and I think I imagine some of the enterprise projects that Martin's involved with going forward, I think it's not just the design of the conversation agent, but actually how does the experience show up and the data be handled in a way that Martin's clients can say, okay, let's say, researcher that needs pharma information, what is the value that it can have the highest impact to them at that moment in time?
Thank you, Dan. I want to move on to Bob. We have a bunch of apps Bob wants to talk about. There he is. Bob, I love that new background. You have never shown up with a gorgeous design like that. You always look great, but we've never had a background before. You want to tell me how did you do that, Bob?
Well, why don't you explain it, Bonnie? Because you created it.
I did? Are you sure? Was it me or was it Mary Nunley? It doesn't look
Was
like. I think
attached to your email.
I think it was in one of the newsletters that I was reading, the Neuron or one of those, and it was, and you, I love it, Bob. Bob, you're very, very low. I want you to yell out 4 apps that you want us to talk about. We want to hear this. It's important. Go ahead. Bob.
The whole industry is in shock right now because of DeepSeek
Yep.
turned everything upside down yesterday. So the one I'm going to talk about is Lucy.ai for anyone that wants to look it up. It's a fantastic receptionist. It replaces any receptionist you might need, takes all the incoming calls. Once they've called more than once, it already has their information. It calls them by name. It addresses them by name, by title. And if you hook your Calendly up to it, it can schedule appointments for you. So it's pretty cool if you're a small, 1-2 person shop, and you're not in your office all the time to take calls, and you want someone to be able to do it and set up your appointments and things like that. It has subscription rates anywhere from $39 on up, depending on what you need. And I think it's incredible. It does a fantastic job.
Next one.
Next one. This one is a favorite of my daughter's. It's called Any Dressing. You upload a photo and then you pull in the clothes you want to try, and it puts them on the photo you send in. So you can see what you look like in it already. Personally, I don't care about that because,
But Bob, wouldn't it be nice to see how fabulous that new shirt looks on you?
my daughter and her friends are absolutely in love with it because they can try on clothes without leaving the house.
Okay, what's your next? Bob, I want you to yell a little bit louder. We're hearing you, but it's very, very soft. Come on, just a little bit more volume. Yell at me. Go ahead.
Well, the other one, I don't even know if I want to publicize it. It's called
Uh-oh.
Academic Help. And what it does is it has plagiarism checkers, APA checkers, AI checkers, all kinds of things that you can use if you're a student, or I would think even if you're a professor, where you can go in and use all these different tools and all that to line your paper up correctly, make sure it's
called
formatted
Help?
correctly.
Help, HELP.
Academic Help.
Academic help, Sherry.
Okay.
I think I have a
my
link in the
daughter,
invitation.
teacher is looking at me going, "Oh, that sounds interesting."
Yeah, I've got them all open on my desktop in case anybody wants to see them. The other one that I'll talk about real quick is Travel Wrap. What it does is it makes it easy for you to take all your photos, your videos, all your different travel sources of information, places you've been, trips you've taken, things you've seen, and it can organize them into like a overview of 2024, where you went and what you did.
Very, very cool. Thank you, Bob. I wish we could have heard you better, but we did if we listened carefully. The any dressing sounds really, really interesting. Sherry, would you use that? What do you think?
Oh my God, for fun, I could picture teenage girls going crazy over that. There's something similar already today. Like you can go into apps and take a picture of yourself and do hairstyles and makeup looks.
Glasses too. You can impose
Yeah.
glasses
Yeah,
frames
glasses.
on you.
Yes, yeah. So I have used the glasses thing.
Does it work? Does it look good?
I mean, it's helpful. It's not as great as being there in person, but I've purchased glasses online.
So
Interesting.
here's my question to
Yeah.
the public. How do you deal with unique body shapes? That's sort of where I'm like scanning my body and sort of trying something on that has sizes to it. I get, but just sort of doing an overlay,
That's what I was
I'm-
wondering. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because I mean, you can scan your face and the apps that I've used, but I haven't seen the whole body. How do you
Yeah,
really
okay.
see my shape?
I have a
Well,
solution for that. Always
in my
buy
case, you
black.
probably don't, but
Always
if it
wear
was-
black. My solution is always wear black. It doesn't
Always
matter.
wear black.
Always wear black. It just works. I'm sorry, Martin, I was talking over you. Go ahead, Martin. What were you saying?
No, it's all good. No, but this is sort of where I think there's huge opportunities there, and I think we had that in one of our technology revolution discussions. I think at some point in time, you will use your iPhone to just scan your whole body, but three-dimensionally, and then you can do a fit adjustment, and you can get the right size, but just overlay a picture. There's always that thing of, yeah, it looks good, and then you get it to the house and you try it on, and it's like, yeah, I'm
What was
not
I
doing
thinking?
Excel anymore. I'm now,
What's the return policy?
yeah, exactly.
Right.
I always read the return policy. I'm sorry about this and what country it originated in. And I bought some beautiful dresses I thought online at a company I wasn't familiar with that had a great website and everything came. It was almost like soft plastic that could have been a kid's Halloween costume. The quality was horrible. I bought some earrings. They were falling apart. One second, Bob. And I went to return it and they said it will cost you $75 US dollars to return it to us in Asia. And I went to my Chase credit card company and I said, I want to cancel this charge because this was fraud. And they credited me. They credited me with the whole amount. It was like 150 bucks. And that was my recourse because I wasn't going to pay $75 to ship JUNK back to wherever it was. But I
We
learned
need
my
an app for that. We need an app.
we need an
Yeah,
app. That's
Bonnie.
right. That's right. You have to
Yeah,
have your
yeah.
fraud line on Bob, you want to say something? Go.
I was just going to mention that Amazon tried for a couple years, I guess, a try it now, pay later program,
Yes.
and they just
Yes.
killed it.
Yeah,
Did
I
they?
saw that. I
Too
saw.
much money.
Yeah. Bob, lean down toward your computer. I want to see if we get better audio from you. Just dip down. Now talk.
I was Amazon for quite a while, had a use it now, pay later program, and they just
Yep.
canned it because it was costing them too much money.
Interesting. And on that idea, on one of my year-end shows, I discovered that several retailers online, Dan, you'll appreciate this, have a keep it, we'll refund you, but don't send it back policy. And this was not publicized. A lot of retailers did it because it doesn't pay for the coming back, for the restocking, the relabeling, the getting it ready, putting it back in inventory. So anything mostly in the $20 to $30 US dollars range, they were saying, just keep the damn thing. They do that with big furniture. Just keep it. We don't want it back. We'll give you the 30 bucks. Leave us alone. So that was very interesting. It was a little known policy. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Let's move on. Who's next? Let's see who's next. Who have I got? Eric, go. What do you got?
Thank you, Bonnie. Well, I want to kind of keep with the theme of what we've already mentioned earlier. So I loved what Dan was talking about when it comes to kind of the customization, that some of these AI apps, sorry, can provide, and how, it really keeps a record of, previous email exchanges, conversations, etc. So the reason I bring that up is the first one that really, struck a chord with me or piqued my interest was the AI app called MindEase. So this app is really meant to support, one's not just mental health, but mood regulation, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, any other, emotions or psychological states that one could experience. And the reason I'm, interested in that and continuing to learn a little bit more is we all have, a pretty similar definition of what stress is, what happiness is, sadness, etc. But it slightly differs from each and every one of us, meaning my version of happy might be a little bit different than Cherry's, might be a little bit different from Martin's, Bob, Dan, even yourself, Bonnie. So having that kind of customization, for one's mood, strategies for how to regulate, one's mood in either a not so, if one's experiencing, not so good moods versus good moods, I think that's, really unique. And I think one that will never again fully eliminate the need for human face-to-face, connections like Cherry was mentioning earlier, but I think can certainly help fill the void of, maybe some of the pitfalls that AI has, had in the past and even a little bit to the present. So that's the first one that really, sparked my curiosity. Second one is Shopwise. So not quite for, fitting into dresses, I guess, or what Bob was mentioning earlier, but we all have different, shopping preferences. Bonnie on your Cool Dude show with you and I a couple of weeks ago. We talked about, how much we both like to dress up and just, dress for success, so to speak, whether it's
Yep.
to the grocery store or on, a nice date or trip or airplane ride.
We both dress up for the grocery store. I'm the only one in red boots and lipstick and done hair and jewelry and a black dress and tights. Oh yeah, go ahead, Eric. I knew we had something in common. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had to bring in some fashion, talk, so to speak. But when we go to the grocery store or wherever we like to dress up, I think Shopwise, is going to be a huge, or even a more popular AI app as people will decide. Next time I'm on Rodeo Drive, let's say, or deciding what I want to purchase, what's the next suit color going to look like? How is it going to fit properly, as we all are kind of worried about, when it comes to just the uniqueness of, how we dress up. I think that's one that, is going to continue to be more common, not just on, high-end fashion, but any type of, retail fashion purchase.
You're shopping on Rodeo Drive? I want to go.
There's
I
nice
was
things
stuck,
to treat
Bonnie.
oneself.
I want to go with you. Sherry, we'll go shopping with Eric.
100%.
Okay, Eric, what's your
I
next
treat the
one?
best as they deserve too. So Rodeo Drive's all on me next time, guys.
Oh my goodness gracious, you must be doing well. Go ahead. No comment. I already made a comment. Eric, what's your next one? Go ahead.
Next one is keeping with the theme of travel, Trip Planner AI. So many of us are in different geographic locations, both within Canada, US, internationally. And when one is traveling or one is wanting to see different cities, whether it's for work, work/business or personal pleasure. Yeah, there's tons of resources that are already available right now on Google or, physical copies of travel books. But Trip Planner AI, I think, really provides an efficient way of just finding out what are the best restaurants from where I'm staying. What are the best shops that I might want to check out? What are the best coffee shops or cafes? What other, touristy things might I want to experience if I decide to go to Seattle or Chicago or Boston, New York, etc. So I think for those that have, the itch to book a trip or, want to go on a vacation, Trip Planner AI, I think, is one that's going to be a good fit for you.
Thank you. What's your next one?
The next one I have right here is, we talked about mood sync. So I would say, Storycraft AI. So what Storycraft does is for those that have a little bit more of not just an artistic side, but are looking at wanting to share, their experiences, into novelty, fiction, nonfiction, etc. Instead of having to manually kind of write, everything down from scratch. And I know, other AI platforms can assist with this, but it definitely helps add kind of a unique, kind of customized, as we were talking about earlier, approach to novel telling or novel creations, catered towards, the audience or demographic that one wants to publish, their book or, script towards. So it's not, I guess, only for writers or those that, want to, write a novel or interested in novels, but one that I think can further enhance, the efficiency of that and just making, a novel more customized and I think applicable. As we were, explaining earlier, I think that's going to be one where, there's going to be more interest and curiosity.
Thank you. And Bob says there's one called Any Dressing AI dress up app. Try clothes on. That's another one. Thank you, Bob. Interesting. I just entered a 12 short stories in 12 months challenge with an author coach in South Africa named Mia Botha, Botha. And today is the deadline. I've been working on my short story for 2 weeks. The first challenge is 1,200 words exactly. Do you know how? Okay, don't even. I've been going over by 45 words, under by 3 words. I've been playing with a word here, a word there. I've been using my Microsoft Word thesaurus, and I have to enter it today, but I didn't realize that her submission form, she gives you exactly 24 hours on that day. So she's in South Africa time. I'm in US East time. I have to have a genre. I have to have a teaser, which I have never written for because I haven't written my novel yet. I have to have all kinds of things. Warnings. Is it going to trigger anything in anybody? Is there anything bad in it? Anything that's difficult? I have to come up with all kinds of things in addition to just plopping the novel. I have to have tags, keywords. Anyway, so I'm after this show, that's what I'm going to do. But there are so many elements, Eric, of my personal life and experience in this, and it's fictional. But the lead character is named after a nickname that my daughter gave my mom, her grandma, and the woman was a nurse, and that was my mom's career before she got married. So there's a personal, yeah. So what you're talking about, Eric. I think that's how we write about what you know or who you are.
Mhm.
Thank
Can I
you.
quickly just chime
Yes.
in on that, Bonnie?
Yeah.
I think this is almost a theme of what we've all mentioned at some level, is just the personalization of all these different AI platforms. And,
Mhm.
while it's helped all of us, personally, professionally with efficiency, getting stuff done, in a more effective manner, I think we can all agree. So correct me if I'm wrong, that we need that kind of personalization,
We do.
customization,
We do.
uniqueness. And I think that's something that is only going to continue to become more important for all of us, which I
It
think is
is.
great.
We want to remember that we're the humans in this
Mhm.
game, right? We're the
Yep.
humans in this game on this roulette wheel, which is moving very, very fast these days. Thank you, Bob. I want to go visually. I saw you. Martin, you're next. What are your couple of 4 apps you want to share with us? We're doing well on time. Go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, so the first one is if you are a developer and you're still doing hands-on development, there's really one name of the game, in my opinion, that is GitHub Copilot. So Microsoft did a really smart thing years ago and bought this company called GitHub that has all the source code stored in sort of repositories. And back in the days, I already looked at my colleagues and said, that's the smartest acquisition I've seen in years. And they didn't just acquire the company, they really did something with it, and they turned it into this GitHub Copilot, which in developer speak is this is our standard. This is sort of the benchmark that everybody has to live up to now. So the funny thing is that all these business companies that are out there, now trying to either rebuild some of the functionality, and they're usually falling short. So now the next thing is how do we, and that's sort of where Dan's point came in. How can we extend and enhance sort of the standard functionalities with our own specialties? So rather than fight them, partner with them and sort of, join forces. But if you are sort of what we call pro code developer, GitHub Copilot, in my opinion, that's your ticket. And even I use it, and people watch me code. And listen, I'm not the guy that usually sits down every day and codes professionally, but even I'm suddenly efficient again, just because it also anticipates of what you're doing, repetitive things. I'm hitting the tab key, which sort of is a key to confirm the suggestion more often than adjusting it. Now, there's always sort of that other side in me that says I wouldn't want to give it to a super junior developer because it can get you into the red hole. So if you just believe everything it says and you just sort of confirm everything and you think you get the right answer, that's no good. But if you know what you're doing and you need efficiency gain, that's sort of where it's a fantastic tool. So again, if you're a developer out there, have a look at GitHub Copilot. Yeah, it costs some money, but that's sort of an investment well worth it. The next one I have is sort of back to the drawing board that I think probably all of you are using, AI functionality in something like Office. So when I'm writing emails these days, there's this little tiny thing on the right click with a mouse that's called the writing tools. So you can essentially take the notes of what you want to send to somebody and says, make it sound professional. And then you can determine whether or not, you want to replace the office text with what you had there. And so very often I sort of just use that. And then obviously make my own readjustments, but I don't have to sort of think about, what are the sort of the additional text phrases that I should put in there in order to make it cohesive and consistent. And so it's really fantastic. I mean, I can highly recommend it. And it's a lot of what I'm describing here is sort of business efficiency. You want to save another 15 minutes of time. It does not, and for the record, it does not replace the Sherryannes of this world or the Bonnies of this world that can really take it to the next level. But
Wait a
for
minute,
me,
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Sherry and I have to do a thank you. Thank you to Martin. Come on. Thank you to Martin. Okay, now you can continue. And
No,
Bob, wait, Bob, you're
but
going to
that's sort of, in
introduce
my
the dog.
opinion, that's sort of where I would say it gets us to the okay level, from the subpar level to the okay level. If you want great, that's in my opinion where you still want the humans involved, and that's exactly I think the benefits that people like Dan, myself, Sherry, everybody here brings to the table that, we're getting you not just to good, we're getting you to great. But we're also not afraid of using the tools, the efficiency tools, to get us to take the day-to-day activities that sort of is common out of our workplace. So the next thing also in the office space is designer. Also one of those functionalities that some of you might have popped up. So for years, I always look at my PowerPoints and I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I doing with this? And unless you have a good marketing team that is constantly available on a moment's notice, in a lot of cases you have to fend for yourself. So where this AI functionality comes in is they actually look at your PowerPoint slide and they're essentially saying, Martin, nice try, but let's rearrange some things. So they're giving you suggestions as in how could you spiff up your PowerPoint slide. Now, again, doesn't work in all cases. Sometimes I'm so bad that even designer can't do anything with it. But the great news is in a lot of cases, you have good suggestions that you can sort of just apply. That leads me to my third idea, or my third usage, which is ChatGPT. Previously it was called DALL-E, but now they sort of moved it back into ChatGPT. What I'm talking about is really the generation of clip arts or images. When I built my business presentations, I always have, sort of a stream of consciousness. I have this red line in my head where I'm just putting slides together, but on a lot of slides, I sort of have the text, but I want sort of, in order to loosen it up a little bit, I want a graphic, I want a clip art that represents sort of what the text means. And again, if you had 100 people marketing organization that you're continuously to fed, it would be great because they would have some really professional graphics. In the meantime, though, what I found is you sort of go to ChatGPT or any other of the conversational AI applications that are out there, and sort of you feed it with the information of what you want. Need a graphic of that shows the integration of business system A with business system B. Give me something. And you get the first graphic and you're like, yeah, close, but don't make it look so archaic. Looks more modern. So you go through these iterations, and within 2 or 3 minutes, you have a clip art you want. You say copy paste, you put it into your PowerPoint presentation. Voila! You have a much better slide than what you had before. So that's sort of the next one where I gained a lot of efficiencies, because rather than now having to build my own clip arts that never work out for me, at least, just because I'm not an artist, I'm not a creative person. The good news, I think, is I freely admit I'm not, and I need help. So the question is, where do you get the help and how do you get the help? And AI is my friend on this one. And then the next one is the one that I think today everybody's using. We're talking about transcription of online meetings. Everybody adds their transcription chatbots to the meeting. You sometimes feel like there are competing chatbots already coming in that all want to transcribe it. And they have different levels of sophistications. Some just do the transcriptions, but they're doing very well. Others not just do the transcriptions, to Dan's point, but you take the transcriptions and you sort of take action items out of it and you execute the action items. So I think that's sort of another thing where we're seeing more and more intent. Now, I think where we're going to end up with that, and that sort of prediction / where we are already, is where we can take these transcripts and put them into business documentations, specs for programs or to-do list action items. So part of it we're already there. There's sort of still some fine-tuning to be done, but it certainly takes sort of the busy work out of it. And then the last one that I had on my list here came out of the blue. So here's a little bit of background. One of my wife's nephews is an emerging actor. So he called me and was like, hey, I have this application idea. And the concept was, he's sitting in the car driving from point A to B for 4 hours. But as an actor, he has to learn lines in the script. So what he wants is essentially somebody to read the script to him with different voices for the different actors. And I looked at it and I'm like, I don't think I need an application for that. I just need to string a few, to Dan's point, I just need to string a few AI components together and we're good to go. So the one I found that sort of, that can do seemingly what I didn't have an immediate solution to was narrakeet.com. So there you can just specify some text and you can, select the specific character and then they will sort of, take that character and use that character's voice to read that particular script. So if you think about a play or movie script, what you really want to do then is you want to before you do the reading, you essentially say, okay, I want Joe to be this character type. I want this character to be a Scottish guy from the Highlands that sounds like Outlander, and then you let it read it, and you essentially convert the whole script, the written script, into just essentially just an audiobook that you can listen to. So again, I think very interesting applications for AI, and sort of the general gist of it for me is the two or three areas. One is efficiency gain, and a lot of what I've just told you was in that area. The other one is creativity. That's for me the two categories where I put these things in. And yeah, I mean, my day is now focusing on the essential parts and sort of rather than writing text for hours or trying to create clipboards.
Thank you, Martin. I appreciate the narrakeet, obviously a play on parakeet, very, very, maybe even parrot, a very niche application. And I will just tell you, and Sherry, we want to save time for you. So I just one comment. When I first started working for the company, okay, bye, Dan. Dan, wave goodbye to everybody. Have a good trip with Cam to college. Take care. Good to see you.
Take care. Thanks, everybody.
We'll do Cool Dude soon. I'll be in touch with you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye. So Martin and everybody, when I first started at the company that is 3 letters that starts with S and ends with P, I was told by one of my managers, Bob, you have to introduce that beautiful companion there in just a second. And just wait. Let me finish my thought here. When I started, I was told that I needed remedial PowerPoint design skills, that I would never have a career in business. Now, this was like my 7th career, and I had been a graphic designer. I was told that I would never succeed in big enterprise corporate world because I didn't know how to design, and my colors were wrong, and my shades were wrong, and my slides were bad. If I had had an AI tool, Martin, to help me do that, hey, bingo. I ignored her, and here I am with millions of listeners around the world and Pioneer and Thought Leadership Radio. But what can I tell you? My PowerPoints look like. Anyway, I thought they were great. Bob, what's the name of this very beautiful puppy here?
This is Niblet.
Niblet. Hello, Niblet. Everybody wave hello to Niblet. Thank you. Happy New Year, Niblet. Okay, Sherry, we're ready for you. I'm putting you on speaker view. You're going to close us out. You've got 7 minutes. Go.
7 minutes. Okay, well, as some of you know, I have been unemployed for the last several months since the company I worked for was acquired by a larger company. And so my focus in the last several months, in addition to, building a new career, has been home and home things, but still very tied into technology. One of the things I really enjoyed reading about this year was the Consumer Electronics Show. And there were a few very interesting apps or solutions coming out of that show. One I love is called From Solid Vision. My sister and my brother both have macular degenerative eye disease, and yeah, and they can't drive anymore. They can't read. They find it very difficult to read. It's very, very heartbreaking to see. Solid Vision came up with smart glasses. That's a vision correction device for people with macular degeneration. And what it does is it creates vision correction they're in beta right now, so haven't tried them. But I know there are similar things out there. But theirs uses proprietary lens arrays to project images onto the damaged part of the retina. And then it helps the brain construct, this is so interesting, a 3D image. So that I thought that looks really cool coming from an electronic standpoint. But also, here's a good one. Purobot Litter is a litter box paired with an app. It uses facial recognition system that informs owners when their cats are pooping.
I have to send that to all my cat lover friends, including Mary and Emily, who
And
couldn't join us
you-
today. Go ahead, Sherry.
Here's my question: does it keep raccoons out because of the
Martin, it gets better. You can, for a subscription fee, get a video of your cat relieving itself.
Oh, I don't. Sherry, move on to the next one. We're not getting
Okay.
scatological
It's
here.
Knox Matrix, which I thought was good because it's to protect your home appliances and with mobile devices and TVs using blockchain technology to ensure that the connected devices are working to protect the user's home data and each other against digital threats, which becomes more and more imperative. I just got a new Nespresso machine for Christmas and I had to hook it up to Wi-Fi to start it off. And I was like, what other information is it getting? So this is going to become increasingly important as our appliances have gotten pretty smart, but now we're taking it to the next level where people are actually investing in them. I think people thought it was a joke before, but they're investing in those types of appliances. And one other that came out of that show was a salt spoon, an electric salt spoon. And it uses electric currents to concentrate sodium ion molecules and amplify the taste of salt, which would be good for me. It's helping to reduce the sodium intake. So it could be considered a health benefit, right? And what you have to do is the user has to place their fingers carefully on a metal strip on the back of the spoon, and then put the device against their mouths for a few seconds before swallowing. It's $125 in Japan. No app required for that one, however.
The antidote to too much salt is compression socks, and they're about $9 for a pair in either black or nude color. And when I go overboard on salt and I look down and my ankles are like, the red boots aren't going to zip up. I'm telling too much information here. I put on the compression socks the next day and I'm back to normal. So Sherry,
I started using Himalayan sea salt.
Have you?
I like that a lot. And
Sherry, why don't you give us two baby home life predictions, and then we're going to close because
Yeah.
we're just about done. Go ahead, 2 minutes.
The
fast.
other things that, of course, I've been looking at since I've been babysitting for my daughter in this spare time is personal assistance and things for mama. So one is Ask Mama. It provides personalized support and guidance to all moms, regardless of their level of experience. Which, if you've had children, every child is a new experience. Whether you're a first-time mom or a seasoned pro, Ask Mama can help you to navigate the challenges of parenthood. That one I might actually try.
Yeah. And one more
is interesting because it's understand your child's development. You could learn a lot about your child's speech development even before they start speaking. I thought that was interesting. Babbly analyzes and monitors how your child's language is progressing and recommends activities that can accelerate their development.
I love it. I love it. One of my granddaughters, who is now a graduate student in museum science and is going to be going to law school next after she gets her master's, and she graduated from an Ivy League college. When she was about 2, she talked to my mother on the phone, and it would, and we couldn't understand a word, but we knew that she was brilliant. We just had no idea what she was saying. Yeah. And she's just going to be a perpetual student, adding degree after degree. She's very, very successful and bright. She was a professional photographer at the age of 12, hired by real estate companies to take pictures of, houses and beaches and all that good stuff. Anyway, it would have been interesting to know what she was really saying. We're just about out of time. I think, 1 minute. Thank you, Jordan. And I will play the outro music. I want to thank the 4 of you, plus Dan Geller and Mary Nunley, who couldn't join us. She had prepared them. I'd like to do a part 2 on this in about a month or so. Would you all like to come back with more apps? What do you think? Martin, good? Eric, good? Bob, we'll work on your audio. Sherry, you won for the best audio of the day. Sharp and clear.
Thank you.
I think you had my mic. And Dan as well. I would like to do a part 2 because I think this is interesting. And maybe we'll pick a niche for each of you. You'll just find 4 or 5 more apps, and I'll mix up the order. Sherry, you'll go first the next time and see if we can get Mary back, and let's just have a lot of fun with it. So, Jordan, are we ready for me to play the outro music? Jordan got to give us a sign. We'll follow your lead with the close. So I'm going to close with this, and let me get my app here. Speaking about an app, we've got Apple Music teed up. I'm going to start this, and let's see if it works. So hold on. Here we go.
Are you tired of hearing the future is already here? We are too. That may have been yesterday's future, but today's future hasn't happened yet. Take a deep breath. Tune out the hype, the noise, and turn up the volume. Voice America brings you savvy, art of the possible technology visionaries talking about how today's innovations right now are shaping every aspect of our real future. We'll laser focus our spotlight on workplace, health, digital media, transportation,
Right?
smart cities, social marketing, fashion, food, smart home, consumer gadgets, and buzzworthy tech like artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, augmented reality, and lots more. Clear your calendar and open your mind for Technology Revolution, the future of now. With the most upbeat host on global radio, Bonnie D. Graham. Listen anywhere, anytime, on any device.
I have to tell you that promo was recorded about 5 years ago. And I found it and it still works. Look at all of the topics that were mentioned, AI and machine learning and IoT and home and health and everything. So Martin had to drop. I'm going to say goodbye to all of you. Let's wave goodbye and thank you to Jordan for being our engineer today and goodbye to social.